if you're not doing what you feel like you're called to be doing, there's a great possibility that you have an identity crisis. And the amazing thing is, it can be fixed like that. I encourage you to read the story of Gideon in the Bible. When God first comes and speaks to Gideon, Gideon is in hiding, and him and his family and his whole nation, they're under oppression, and it's a terrible situation. And when God first comes to Gideon, God is explaining to him that he's going to rescue his whole nation. And Gideon goes on to explain to God, you know what? I'm the least in my family. We're the least in our nation. And what's interesting is, he obviously had been told by his community or his nation or his people around him, his family, that he was the least, and he took on that identity. But when God came and spoke to him, God said he called him a mighty man of valor. And what's interesting is when God showed up and Gideon was in his mind, the smallest of the smallest, the least of the least, to when God called him, he said, you are a mighty man of valor. Go and do what I've called you to do. Maybe that conversation with God was 5 minutes. Who knows? But God called him a mighty man of valor before Gideon actually did anything mighty or courageous. He was in hiding. God showed up and says, hey, you're a mighty man of valor. Go do this. This is your calling. And when Gideon took on that identity instead of the small identity, and took on God's identity, he was able to move forward into his calling. So you always have to be careful that you're not taking on the words or the things that other people speak over to you. You always have to go back to what God speaks about you and make sure that you're following that, and make sure you're following what the Bible says about you. God has so many amazing things to think about, or that he says about us. He has all these, it says his thoughts towards us, good thoughts are like the sand of the sea. So God's unlimited love and thoughts and amazing things are coming towards us. We need to receive those and function in those, and not function in what other people around us say to us. Sometimes people are well-meaning in our family or whatever it is, or our friends. And sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're really just trying to drag us down, unfortunately. But that's why you can't trust those things. You have to trust what God says.